One second, we're going to record this in just a moment. You're going to see, you probably already see a message that says we're recording this, and that will be available to you later today or tomorrow when, oh, this is not working for me. And Mike will send that out later today or tomorrow, excuse me. So you can go back and review this information once, later on, whenever, if you forgot some information or need to get clarification on something I said, definitely you'll have that opportunity. Mike is going to mute everybody. So there will be an opportunity at the end of this presentation to ask questions, which you can either unmute your microphone, and all of you, I think, have unmuted your microphone. But if you can't, because I think some of you might be at work, you can definitely chat the questions in. But again, write down the notes. If questions that come up as we go through this, you may get the answer before we get to the end, but if not, feel free to ask questions. I'm happy to answer them. I do have a hard stop at 1 o'clock, so I can't go over 1 o'clock. Often I do, but today I've got another back-to-back meeting, so I'm gonna have to end it right at 1 o'clock. But you will have my contact information, so you can reach out to me or to Mike to ask about other questions. My name is Rocco Lamanna. I'm the Associate Dean. I have been working with Golden Gate University for coming up on, oh my gosh, tomorrow is going to be 6 years. So I'm pre-celebrating my 6th year anniversary. I started off working with the Braden School of Taxation and the School of Accounting, and I'm intimately familiar with all of those programs. And earlier this year, I also now have become the Associate Dean for all graduate programs. So those programs in the business school as well. So I'm more familiar with all of the accounting and tax programs. And so I'm here today to walk you through what we have to offer and have you ask questions. I know that you probably have done some research, and I think it's always wise to do research before you jump on and apply to a program. Why should you be, applying to any of our programs? What makes Golden Gate University very unique and distinctive? And one of the things is we're really a non-traditional university. Non-traditional in the sense, and this is all good stuff, is that our audience are mature adults like you. You're adult learners. That's a very unique and different demographic that we serve, unlike other more traditional universities that have have a different approach to teaching. All of our students, for the most part, I could say confidently, at least 90% of our students are working. They are working in the field or other fields, and they're doing a career change. So they come to school after work or with other priorities that they are competing priorities, such as family life and things like that. So those are the kind of unique characteristics of an adult learner, such as yourself. So why Golden Gate University? What we found in speaking to our students is that the small, more personalized class experience is really advantageous for them because they can explore and talk about different concepts and how different things that you're discovering in class are applied in the real world. On the average, our classrooms are about 14 students. Sometimes they're a little bit more, sometimes they're less. The material we teach, it's kind of real world stuff. It's kind of corny and weird to say that, but because you would imagine that everything that you learn in university should be applied to the real world. But we really have a real keen focus on making sure the material you learn can be applied immediately in the workforce. Our faculty work diligently and staying on top of what's current and important in the industry. And what you're going to see is when we go through the master's program and even the certificates, the courses or the programs are designed for what's emerging in the industry. Because of our location and because of the longevity of the university of over 120 years in their mission of educating adult learners, we've developed some really strong relationships. In the accounting and tax profession, those firms surround Golden Gate University in the Mission District. And it is great to have that opportunity for them to come and recruit from us. Many of them are adjuncts. So the relationship and the location of the university is a benefit to you. And you'll learn more about that as I go through this presentation. The faculty are members of the workforce. They're leading subject matter experts. And they're here to, really add to the curriculum and the flavor of the courses. Our adjuncts are a major part of our learning community. And so they bring all of those real world experiences to the classroom as well. You have a lot of options. You're going to see that it's not a rigid program. One of the things that really is dynamic about this, and something that we changed over a year ago when we built this new degree, is that we looked at how and what is important. Oh, sorry, I just had to pause. I was getting these pop-up messages from the chat, and I thought something was going on and nobody could hear me, but that's not the problem. Okay, so thank you for letting me know that. Anyways, I just lost track. Well, I'll just keep going. The options, rather. So you'll have a variety of different options you'll get to choose. It's not a rigid program, it's flexible, and this is what's really keen about this program. And then also, who are we ranked by? We're accredited by WASC Senior, so that's important for regional accreditation, but also other organizations have, put their stamp of approval or listed us in their top list of schools to attend. The one that I'm most interested in, because it goes back to what I said earlier, your adult learners, and the Washington Monthly is one of those adult learning institutions that help adult learners connect to institutions that fit their learning institutions that fit their needs. And for 4 consecutive years, we were ranked #1. So I think that's pretty, I'm proud of that. It lives up to our mission and our goals. Okay, oops, there we go. So what is the benefit of our master's degree? Well, the degree itself is a really interesting degree, and we're going to kind of dive into more meats and potatoes of it. But the degree itself also gives you access to, or being a student here at Golden Gate University, rather, gives you access to different opportunities that you may not have explored. Public accounting. Some of our students want to go to public accounting. Others want to go to private industry, or they're coming from those industries. And so, it's the different representation of industries that use your skill set. It's not just public accounting, but there's private, there's governmental, there's nonprofit. And one of the things that we see this really kind of echoing is in our recruitment events. You will see representation from all of these different segments of the industry who are recruiting our students. A lot of our students in the past and currently, I try to stay connected with as many students as possible, but it's sometimes hard in the capacity of my work. But they want to go to the Big Four. But one of the things I always say is, don't just limit yourself to look at the Big Four if you're on the hunt for a job. If you're looking for a job, open up your mind to looking at other opportunities where your skill set can also be used. You might be surprised at what you find that's out there. In your experience as a student, you will have access to academic and professional networking opportunities. Your professors are kind of the first stop in that kind of journey of your professional academic career. So you will have, you'll meet people from the industry, and we're always adding new faculty to make sure that we always have what is current in the teaching of the subjects that we have or that we offer. And then you'll also have, and you'll see this a little bit later on, a lot of extensive support in mentoring. We kind of, what I do is say it's a wraparound service. We wrap our arms around you because we want you to be successful. We want to make sure that you have the tools. And that's important, to have the resources and tools to be successful, because there's sometimes a lot of competing things happening in your life: family, work, unexpected things, COVID, God forbid, but COVID, so there's a lot of things happening that really can get in your way. And we want to make sure we try to remove as many of those stumbling blocks as possible. Question we often get is, where do your students go to work? Oops, went too fast. Where do your students go to work? Here's just kind of a little snapshot of what or our students have been working or have worked in this last survey that they did, which was actually over a year ago. So we're due to have a new data set here. But I guess it just represents what I showed you earlier, that we have students in private, public accounting, nonprofit, and what did I miss? Well, anyways, private, nonprofit, public accounting. So all of those different segments are represented here. And that's important. Governmental, that was the other one. So you see the state of California, you'll see Deloitte, KPMG. So the Big Four definitely gets a lot of our students because, well, one, they're really close by, and they are always recruiting. And so if you are looking for a job right now, this is not a bad time because people are still recruiting and we're still getting inquiries about different recruitment events that we will be doing. Fall time is usually the biggest recruitment season, if that's something of interest to you, and you'll see that we do have events and career services that will help you find and connect with different events and recruitment opportunities. So we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Okay, let's dive into this degree, the Master's of Science in Accounting, Data, and Analytics. This is a newer degree. We just launched it a year ago this term, so it's last summer. And what we did was we kind of chunked it out in different ways. So what you'll see is that this is a master's degree that you can build, kind of like stack, or you can do separate certificates. If a master's degree is too much for you to bite off and chew, so to speak, then maybe doing a smaller degree or a certificate rather is more important for you. But I'm going to go through the master's degree, and then I'm going to show you the different little certificates that you can build from this master's degree or add on to the master's degree. So accounting proficiency. So these are courses that are required to lay the foundation. So these are courses that you may have completed in an undergraduate degree program here in the United States or at a community college here in the United States. These lay the foundation to build the more advanced classes on top of. So you have Math 20, which is intermediate algebra. You have economics 1 or 2, which is micro or macro. And then the core foundation accounting courses are 5 or 15 units, which are also a standout certificate if you choose to just do these courses to build your accounting foundation. So there's introductory to financial accounting, introductory to managerial accounting, intermediate accounting 1, intermediate accounting 2, and auditing. Those are the foundation courses. And if you've done an undergraduate accounting program here in the United States, you will see all of these courses as probably required. Sometimes auditing is an option in some universities, but most of these are always required as a foundation for any accounting degree. So if you've completed these courses from another institution, we would accept those as equivalency for these courses. Okay, so that was the foundation. So now we've laid the foundation. One of them is a certificate that you can do on its own if you're trying to build your knowledge and skills in accounting, or maybe you need more units to satisfy the educational requirements to sit for the CPA here in California. The master's degree is 30 units, okay? So the 30 units is kind of chunked out in different segments. The first 12 units are what we call the Accounting, Research, and Analytics core courses. So that includes accounting, research, and communication, data analytics for accounting, analysis of financial information, and automation and innovative technology. The theme here is technology. These courses and research, technology and research, these courses are really kind of the building blocks for this degree, because what it does is it sets the tone for a focus in the industry that's shifting, and that's analytics, technology analytics. So this is the kind of the basis of from where we built the master's degree from. So on top of that, you get to choose core electives, and that's 6 units. So you have 12 units with the core courses, and then you have 6 units of electives you can take, or core electives. And these can be any 300 accounting level accounting courses or MSBA 328. We have a variety of different courses. For fall, we're doing Accounting 302, which is the Accountant's Professional Responsibility and Ethics course, which is, if you're looking to sit for the CPA, that's a required course that will satisfy the part of the ethics requirement in the educational requirements of the CPA. And then from there, you get to choose 12 units of accounting courses as your electives, or you can choose a concentration. And we're going to go into that in just a moment. So repeat, 12 units of accounting, research, and analytics. Those are the core courses. 6 units of core electives, that's 18 units, and then 12 units of electives, or a concentration, which is also 12 units. Okay, so here are the concentrations and the certificates. Some of these are just certificates, and some of these are concentrations or certificates. So the first one is the CPA Applied Accounting Concentration, which is also a standalone certificate. Again, these are 12 units, it's 4 courses, and these courses are designed to help you sit and pass the CPA exam. These courses include Becker materials, and what we've done is the professor designed these courses so that they use the Becker materials so that once you're done taking the course, and each course mirrors one part of the CPA exam. So for example, financial accounting and reporting matches the FAR exam. You should be able to take that part of the exam and successfully pass it. So this concentration or certificate is helping you to pass the CPA exam. Then there's a taxation concentration. Students who like accounting but also want to dabble in taxation, this is a great combination to add to your degree. It is also a certificate. The concentration includes 4 classes. These classes come from the tax program. So these are law research-based courses, just like in our Masters of Science in Taxation. You will get the foundation courses from research to understanding federal taxation for individuals, as well as property transactions, and then you get to choose an elective. I know one student mentioned that they were interested in the advanced analytics for accountants. Because analytics is becoming embedded in all parts of our industry, including accounting and tax, it is really becoming a major revolution and overhaul, whatever you want to call it, in the field. So a lot of the accounting firms have taken on, most of them have been taking on using analytics to help do some of the work that they do. The big 4 have been able to embrace it a lot larger because they have more resources, and the smaller size firms are kind of tagging along and trying to get on board with using analytics. So analytics is really going to be a keen skill that you can provide in the accounting profession. If you like the analytics, the advanced analytics for accountants, concentration or certificate will help you in advancing your knowledge around analytics and how to use those tools for the accounting profession. These courses come out of the Masters of Science in Business Analytics. So they're not specifically geared to accounting, but you can see how they would be applied based on the types of courses that you will be used, including some visualization and dashboard courses that will help you create, data, or use data to create dashboards and visualization to communicate information to an audience. We also get information or inquiries from students who say, I'm in a place in my career where I need to advance, and the next level is a management level, or maybe it's a partner level, and I really need to develop more leadership skills because I am going to be leading or potentially lead other employees in my firm. So we've added on this leadership concentration where you can take courses from the Masters of Science in Leadership to help develop those competencies that are important in leadership. And leadership competencies are not just universal to one field or not explicitly for one field or another, they're universal, right? That you can be used across all industries. So this is something that's good in developing your skill set in the area of leadership. The Accounting Data and Analytics Certificate is with those 4 core courses that I talked about in the master's degree. You can do that as a standalone certificate as well. Remember, it's Accounting 300, 351C, 336, and 339. And then we also have the Graduate Accounting Foundation Certificate. Those are those 15 units of accounting courses that I talked about very earlier, that help lay the foundation to build the advanced courses on top of. Okay, if you're a student at Golden Gate University, how do you take classes? Well, you can take classes in person, that's a given, right? And we're in a unique position right now because we're still under, the shelter in place kind of mandate where we're doing things remote, even though San Francisco and other communities have kind of moved away. Before they moved away, we had to, make a decision. And so summer is still remote, and we are continuing to do remote for fall term, but we are going to be opening up some things in the university. And then for spring, we anticipate classes being able to be offered in person. But you can take, other than in person, you can take classes online, which are asynchronous, which means everything is done online. You're not self-teaching. The professor has set up, tutorials, voice over PowerPoint lectures. They record lectures. They do a variety of different things. And they really make the course interactive by having discussion threads and other activities and things for you to engage so that they can measure your understanding of certain topics. It is not self-learning. And that's one of the things that students get caught up in, is like, oh, I don't want to self-teach myself, teach myself these concepts. Well, you're not. You're following the guidance of an instructor. You're just not physically attending any particular day and time. You're logging in each week, maybe numerous times, depending on when the professor has laid out the due dates for different assignments or activities in the class. If you're doing an asynchronous, you may have a proctored exam. The exam will be proctored through ProctorU, or you can be through a testing center or so forth that you can arrange with our e-learning team. Most sites are still closed for certified proctoring centers, so most students are still using the ProctorU online proctoring service. Web conference. So some students want that synchronous experience, rather that in-person experience, but can't physically go to campus. So we have a web conferencing, and actually we've been doing this for many years. We've done it in tax, and we've been doing it in accounting, for at least 2 years. And then when we had to move to shelter in place, moving these classes online was a very light lift, because we were already doing online and web conferencing. So web conferencing is using Zoom like we are today. You would attend a class the same date and time that the in-person class is being held, except you're not physically in the same class. You are taking class from home or from work or a coffee shop, wherever you have an opportunity to take a class. Exams for those students are going to be proctored as well, but there's no on-campus attendance required. Your attendance is really via Zoom. Okay, so every course that we offer, whether it's in person or online or web conferencing or any combination of that, we have an online course shell, which is really great, because now, you could wake up in the middle of the night. I do sometimes, about like, oh, I got to remember to do these things, and I jot myself down a note. Some students wake up in the middle of the night and go, what do I need to prepare for class? And they can go to their online course shell and see week by week what the professor has laid out. So, and their syllabus is there, all the information about the class. So this class course shell goes with you regardless if you're taking an in-person or an online class. And the nice thing about it is many of the professors will have you do assignments and things like that uploaded through the course shell. So everything becomes somewhat paperless, except for maybe you have a book or things like that. In addition, the e-learning website, where all of your courses are going to be found, has access to tutoring, to different resources and services, career services, job posting, events. So you have access that's kind of like one-stop shopping from this website. You can go to the library, and we have a well built out online library that I'm really proud of, because in fact, when I was doing my dissertation for my doctorate, I was in the library all the time, tapping into the GGU library to find my resources that I needed for my dissertation. So it's well built out. Very happy with that. But also you'll have information and communication via your class to your professor. So if you have to email your professor, you just go into the course shell, you'll see the email function, and you can email your professor, or you can even email your other classmates. And then also course announcements and things like that are all communicated through this platform. Okay, so students who are often looking for jobs are also interested about doing internship, because an internship is kind of the gateway to getting a job offer. And we run an internship class every term. So potentially after you've completed a certain amount of courses, you could do the internship. Now, internship is not something that we find for you, but you find yourself, and it has to meet certain requirements. You yourself have to have at least a 3.0 GPA. And by the way, a 3.0 GPA is a mandate in order to graduate. So that's the minimum GPA. It can be seasonal employment or full-time employment. Maybe you got a job offer and you haven't done this kind of work before and you want to use this as for internship credit. That's something we can discuss. Sometimes you're only being hired for a season, like several months. And so you could use those hours for internship, as long as it lines up with the outcomes, the learning outcomes of the accounting program. Career Services hosts a lot of the jobs and opportunities for you to kind of comb through and see what's available. Our employers do routinely post jobs announcements on our job posting board, which you'll have access to as a student. So there's a lot of opportunity out there, as well as we do recruitment events throughout the year. So recruitment events, we do, like I mentioned, a lot throughout the year. September, in this kind of month, we do quite a few things. We'll do a career fair. We've done in the past lunch and learn workshops. These are like actual lunch events where you are partnered with an employer. You get to speak with them at a round table with a few other employers and a few other students. Because we're virtual, we're thinking about maybe doing this for online, but we haven't really worked out the details. But as soon as we're back in person, we definitely will bring that back to life again, because it's a really great event. And our employers are wanting to come because they really want to meet students in person. We do a lot of panel events and coordination with, like, say, Cal CPA and other organizations, tax organizations. It's kind of quiet right now just because of the remote thing. Everything has kind of been up in the air. But when we are moving back to live events, it'll be humming again. But there's a lot of opportunities that you will get information about that will be sent to your student email. So you always want to be staying on top of your student email so you can learn about these events. And all of these events are free. We've done events like All Things Analytics, and this was like a recruitment information session. We do GGU Presents, which are monthly presentations by faculty and subject matter experts on various topics. You can see all of these different events on our website. If you go to the website, at the top corner, there's a little calendar icon, and you click on that, you'll see the events calendar. You can see what's coming up at any time. Some of these events are only for students who are active in our system, and some of these are for anybody who's just interested, even if you're not a current student with GGU. The fall event, the career fair, is huge. We do it every year. And this year, of course, and last year, they're remote on a platform that we will be using called Remo. We've had upwards of around 30 plus employers recruiting for tax and accounting students. So this is geared just for tax and accounting. It's a great way for you to meet and really learn about organizations and hopefully land an internship, or excuse me, an interview that will lead to either an internship or a full-time job offer. Here's just an example of the GGU Presents. This was from April and May, but there are more current ones up on our website. Like I said, if you go to the GGU website, you will see them on the calendar event or icon. What I said earlier was we wrap our arms around you, we embrace you because we want you to be successful. There's a lot of support services. All of these are free. Take advantage of them. Graduate advising. Once you become a student here, you'll be assigned an advisor who will work with you. We also have self-service, which is a tool that will help you plan out your first term to your last term, all the classes that you need and when you want to take them. You have access to career services. You'll have access to tutoring. Tutors can be web-based via Zoom, or you can meet with them in person when we we're available to go back to campus. Wellness resources. Life is happening. I know how difficult it was when I was doing my doctorate. Children, family, other things, illness of a parent, all of these things, resources are there for you to take advantage of and really help you kind of figure out how to move through these challenges and obstacles that you might confront. We have clubs and organizations that are a great way for you to get involved, which also lead to networking opportunities. The Tax and Accounting Club is one of those. There's international student clubs, there's finance clubs, there's all student government. So there's a lot of different ways for you to get involved. And that's really a good thing on your resume because they want to see how are you involved in things outside of just school, right? School and work take up probably most of your time, but what else are you doing to give back to the community? If you're looking for ways of paying for your school through scholarships or grants, the financial aid department is there to help work with you. If you are a VA student, a veteran student, we have the Dillard Center for veteran students. And that's a great resource also. It's relatively new, but it's well staffed with people who know what it means to be a VA student or a veteran in school. So they have provided, they have a lot of resources and guidance in that department for you. We also do events to give back to the community like VITA, which is the Voluntary Income Tax Assistance Program. Last year, when we had to go shelter in place, we had to shut down early because we couldn't do this. It's an in-person event or service, and we couldn't be in person. And this past year, because we were remote, we of course didn't do it. But hopefully we'll be able to revive this VITA program again for next year. Career Services offers a lot of resources. Here are just like 10 samples of some of the different tutorials or information sessions that they hold. These are sometimes recorded from previous sessions, but they're still up to date and current. This is just 10. I think they have at least 80 different tutorials and help tools for you to use, as well as you get to speak to somebody if you need. You can schedule a meeting with a career service advisor to get guidance or help on anything that you might be experiencing in the workplace or trying to find a job. I'm going to turn it over to Mike now, who's going to walk through how to become a student at Golden Gate University.
Thank you, Rocco. And hi, everybody. My name is Mike Wu. I represent the admissions office at Golden Gate University here at the webinar today. For those of you domestic students, when I refer to domestic students, we are talking about permanent resident and US citizen. The good news is we are still accepting applications for the fall 2021 term. Our fall 2021 term will start in September 5th, early September. So you have about 2 months to go through and complete the whole admissions process and to be able to start school in September. Now, for those of you who are needing an F1 visa or student visa, or what we call international students, the enrollment period for the fall 2021 has been ended. So the most upcoming term to apply is the spring 2022 term. And our spring 2022 term will start in early January. This is also good news on your side because it gives you a couple more months for you to continue to complete the admissions process, to gather the documents, to finish your English test, TOEFL, IELTS. That way you have more flexibilities in the visa and I-20s process later. Generally speaking, we do welcome students with different backgrounds to apply to our accounting programs. A rule of thumb is if you have a US bachelor or US master, if you have a US undergraduate GPA of 3.0 or higher, we strongly recommend you to apply to our programs. The good news about the accounting programs is we do not require your GMAT or GRE score. But of course, if you have taken the GMAT or GRE, and I assume some of you may also be considering other schools, and maybe some other schools are also needing GMAT, GRE, and you need to take it anyway. And if you feel that you have a very good GMAT, GRE score, you want to brag about it, don't hesitate to send us your official GMAT, GRE anyway, because we'll be seeing that on your application. We'll be seeing that when we receive your official score, and we'll be using that in the admissions criteria during the review consideration. The rule of thumb for the documents we need after you submit the application is we usually need for US bachelor's and master's, we need your official transcripts sent directly from your US university to Golden Gate University. Nowadays, due to the pandemic, most of the schools are actually preferring electronic delivery. So after you have submitted your application, you can just tell your school, once again, your school in the United States, you can just tell your school to send us your official transcripts, and we'll be able to continue the process once we receive your official transcripts. On the other hand, besides your official transcripts, we strongly recommend to have a copy of your resume. One of the biggest reason we want to see your resume is because during the admissions process, we are not only looking at the scores on your official transcripts. GPA is one of the consideration, but it is not the only consideration. We are willing to consider your work experience. We are willing to consider your statement of purpose if you would like to contribute, if you want to brag about your achievements, your goal, your interest. So feel free to use whatever you would like to share to tell us what makes you a standout among other applicants that are also applying to our accounting programs at GGU. Now, if you are coming from a US school and for some reason you had some difficulty during your undergraduate year and things happen and you didn't get a GPA 3.0 or higher, don't worry too much about it, because as I said, use your different opportunities to brag about yourself, use your different opportunities to tell us about your difficulty. That way, you can certainly tell us your difficulty during your undergraduate program, or you can certainly tell us about your interest, your aspiration through a statement of purpose. And Rocco, our program chair, will read everyone's statement of purpose carefully and pay attention to details and use that as an opportunity to directly communicate with the review committee, to directly communicate with Rocco, to make yourself stand out from the crowd. Now, on the other hand, if you are an international student who need F1 visa, or if you have a non-US credential, or what we call a foreign credential, for example, you have your bachelor's from India, you have your bachelor's from Uzbekistan, after you submit your application, our enrollment counselor will be able to further guide you on exactly what kind of documents we need in order to finish the admissions process with your foreign credential. Once again, if you are an international student or if you have a foreign credential, after you submit your application, wait a little bit, wait for the enrollment counselor's email or wait for Flora's email. And Flora, our enrollment counselor for the accounting program, working with international students and students with foreign credentials, will be able to guide you on exactly the documents we need in order to push your application for review. For some students with foreign credentials or some students with F1 visa, we might also require you to turn in what we call the English language requirement or English proficiency. If you're also applying to other schools, they might also or already require the same. For us, you can fulfill the English language requirement by taking one of the free tests, either a TOEFL. Once again, our minimum required for TOEFL is 79, or an IELTS score. Our minimum required with IELTS is 6.5 academic overall. Once again, IELTS minimum requirement is 6.5 academic overall. Now, I know we are in the middle of the pandemic and some of you may have difficulty registering for an IELTS or TOEFL exam. That is okay. Since the pandemic happens, we are introducing a new alternative for students that are having difficulty taking TOEFL or IELTS, which is Duolingo. And I know some of you are already very familiar with it, or some of you may have already scheduled for a Duolingo exam. The good thing about taking Duolingo as opposed to TOEFL or IELTS is you can take the Duolingo English test in front of your computer at home, and students usually can finish taking the Duolingo test in about an hour to 10 minutes. So compare with TOEFL or IELTS, which is 3 hours, it's much easier for you. You can take it at home and it's convenient for you as well. And for those of you, once again, that are needing an F1 visa, or you are not sure about what kind of documents you need when it comes to foreign credentials, don't worry about it. The first step for you is to submit an online application. And afterward, our enrollment counselor will take a look at the application, take a look at your academic record and information in the application, and be able to guide you further into the admissions process. And Rocco, if you may, to the next slide. So we are on a rolling admission. And as I mentioned, for domestic students, our fall 2021 term is still open for you. And for international students who need an F1 visa or student visa to study, our most upcoming term is the spring 2022. Now, for those of you who are considering the spring 2022 term, we are on a rolling admission and we do not strictly have a very solid deadline. My suggestion to you is the earlier you submit an online application for the spring term, the earlier you are able to initialize the admissions process for our enrollment counselor to take a look at your application. And this is more important for international students because you have a foreign credential, and our enrollment counselor will need to take a look at the specific circumstance related to your foreign credential and to be able to guide you further in the process. So the earlier you submit the application, the earlier you'll be able to be guided throughout the admissions process and to get a decision. And for international students who need F1 visa, that means the more flexibility you have when it comes to after you're admitted, when it comes to completing the I-20 process and when it comes to the visa process. So my suggestion to you is, for domestic students, if you want to start school as soon as possible, submit the online application for the fall as soon as possible. And for international students with F1 visa needed, submit the spring 2022 application as soon as possible, so that will give you more flexibilities in the visa stage. And thank you, Rocco. So I'm handing back to Rocco, who will be taking some of you with the questions, and we would like to hear more from you, regarding any inquiries or questions you have.
So here's my email address, and you don't have to jot it down because we'll have this recorded for you, and you'll be able to go back and look at it at your leisure. But I'm going to stop. So I'm going to stop sharing rather, and I'm going to open it up. We look like I had a couple of people join, or one other person join since I started. So you can chat in the chat box. We have 15 minutes. So you can chat your questions in the chat box, or you can unmute your microphone and ask a question. However you want to do it, let's just go to it.
Hi, Rocco. Can I ask a question?
Yes. Who's speaking? Raghav, right? Okay.
Yes. So currently I am employed in San Francisco working as an accountant in an accounting firm, a small business firm. And I'm on an H-1B visa. So I had a question regarding the admission. They said that I would need an English proficiency test, and I wanted to see if there's a waiver, because I have an undergraduate degree and a master's degree from the United States already.
Yeah, that's your waiver.
Oh,
if
okay.
You have a master's degree from the US, that is your waiver.
Okay, yes. I have a master's degree. This morning, I signed a consent form for the transcript transfer from University of San Francisco to Golden Gate University.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Yes, your undergraduate or your graduate, in case you have a graduate already, degree rather. So that is your waiver.
Oh,
it waives your English language requirement, and it also waives the writing requirement.
Yeah, because I was kind of checked, because why would I need English proficiency test? Because it's been 7 years I'm here, and I'm also on H-1B, so that's quite a bit of qualification.
apologize for the confusion. The English
Oh, no.
language requirement is for those with foreign credentials. But if you have a US bachelor, because I see your application, seems like you also have a US bachelor's degree. Is it correct?
Correct.
Yes, he did that.
Yeah. So what is going to happen is after I see you submit your application, and in the application, you fill in a section for our admissions team to first try to request official transcripts on your behalf, and I see the two schools that you ask us to. So
Yes.
as the next step, you hear from the admissions team with a follow-up email, and the admissions team will tell you whether they are able to request on your behalf, and if they can, you will sign an electronic consent for each of the school, and then they'll be able to request the official transcript further for you. So wait for the follow-up email, okay?
Yes, got it. Thank you.
Does that answer all your questions, or did you have others?
Just another small question.
Yeah.
Is there a part-time option as well for the program?
Yes, actually. So the requirement, unless you are on a visa or you have any other financial aid requirements, if students getting financial aid or VA benefits, there are certain requirements for how many units you must take to qualify for those benefits. But if none of those apply to you, you could take, one class a term, you could take up to 3 classes a term. And if you're working, taking 3 classes is a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, because you're on an H-1B visa, you're not required like an F1 student. So you can move at the pace you want. Of course, it's going to take you longer to graduate, but hey, that's okay because you got to balance it with everything in life. Again, you're an adult learner, right? You've got competing things happening. So yes.
Considering I would probably opt for 2 classes, I believe the schedule would be 2 classes for 8 weeks. If I do part-time, will that be, or it's semester-wise?
So the classes run 15 weeks.
Okay.
So we're a trimester school, so each semester is 15 weeks. Now, occasionally we will have classes that run 7.5 weeks, but for the most part, they all run 15 weeks.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So if you have questions, feel free to unmute your microphone or chat. One of the things as people are formulating their questions, I talked about the CPA exam. If you're doing the accounting profession, the CPA is a kind of almost an expected requirement in the accounting profession. Unless you go for maybe private, you may not be required to have a CPA, but definitely in public accounting and most accounting firms and organizations, they'll want that CPA license. Those courses, the CPA courses that I talked about earlier, are designed to help you, get prepared for the CPA. They do. We do offer just those 4 classes at a discount rate. So the discounted rate is half of the full tuition per unit. So for the full unit per unit rate is $1,090 for a full price tuition, but it would be $545 just for any of those 4 classes only, the CPA courses, which is accounting 379, 377, 379, 378, and 380. And then there's a one-time materials fee of $1,400 that covers all the books and database materials for all of those courses. And you have access to that database until you pass all of your exams, because at that point you won't need them anymore. But yeah, and we use Becker, which has a high pass rate for people taking their programs to prepare and pass the CPA. Come on, somebody's got to have a question. Ask me a question. I wasn't that thorough. I know I wasn't.
I can ask more questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, if you have questions, somebody else might be thinking the same question. So maybe you're doing somebody a favor by asking a question.
How many credits does a part-time student qualify for? Like, is it 6 credits or 12 credits?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that because you cut out?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it sounds like you're moving away to and from your microphone. If you could, okay, try it again.
Hello.
Yeah, now I can hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Okay. How many credits can a part-time student take just to be at a part-time? Is
Each
it like
class
12?
is 3 units. Each class is 3 units. So part-time is anything less than 4 units. So if you're using, so let me clarify. In the graduate program, in order to be eligible for financial aid, which is the measurement tool that we use to determine part-time and so forth, is 4 units. So all of our classes are 3 units. So one class would be really considered part-time for us here at this university. You have to think that, there's an outside of class. So graduate programs and undergraduate programs, I guess for the most part too, have a required number of hours that you're expected to study outside of class, right? So you can expect about 10 to 15 hours per 3-unit class of outside work per week to study. And that can vary depending on each week. If you have an exam one week, maybe that's more hours, maybe that's less hours. So it really depends. But on average, we tell students, 10 to 15 hours is a good amount of time to set aside for every class. So if you're working, taking a class every day, if it's an in-person class, you're meeting once a week for 2 hours and 40 minutes. Then on top of that, you have, your number of hours you need to study outside of class. So, and you have your work and maybe you have family. So you got to kind of calculate that all into how this is going to work in your plan. So think about the outside time amount for each of the classes as well.
Hi, Rocco.
Hi, Bilal. Yeah.
Hey, so what I was thinking was if I apply for like student loan, federal loan, and like I take 2 classes while working my normal job, which is like Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So would you like? I know it's gonna be hard, and I'm prepared for that. Obviously, that's the reason why I applied, because I have made up my mind for that. But like, would you rather recommend or anything you want to add that if it's not possible in any way? What's your experience regards to that? I just want to hear your point of view.
Well, that's really a decision on an individual basis, because I don't know what else is going on in your life to how you balance. If it's just work and school, then I think it's doable. But if you have family and all these other commitments that are outside, you have to factor that into your time that you're going to be able to dedicate to the program.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard for me to say that. I often, if you've been out, when I meet with students who've been out of school for a while, and maybe this is the first time they're getting back in after, like, say, 5 years, a lot has changed since maybe the last time they took classes, and getting into the study habits and spending and etching out time where you can focus on classes and not get interrupted. That is a whole different beast. So I always have students think about what that looks like for them. And if this is the first time in a long time taking classes, I usually say, I recommend try one first, because then you don't feel, what I would hate for you to do is, not do well, not get the expected grade. Everybody wants to be an A student. And then you fall below. Maybe you don't get an A, maybe you get a C, and that can be defeating on the psyche. And I don't want that to happen. So I kind of say, I'm one who's a little bit more conservative on taking risks. So maybe I would take one class. When I first started my master's program after being out for 12 years, I started with one class, and I was working like 50 to 60 hours a week. And my own personal experience was, it was just the right amount, because I needed to get back into being a student. And it took me the full semester just to think about how to, plan my time and my work schedule and all this to become a full-time student, or to become a student. And then the next term, or maybe the term after that, I did take 2 classes, because by that point I figured I had it down where I could add on a little bit more. But I did it a little bit cautiously. Now, if it hasn't been that long since you've been out of school, maybe you have those study habits in place. You've got your, your workplace set up, or your home site, wherever you're going to study from, set up so that you won't be disturbed. You've blocked it out on your calendar, put a do not disturb me time, sign on your door, or something like that. If those are things that you've already kind of thought about and factored into your commitment, then you should be fine to do 2. Otherwise, I'd say just take 1 to get your feet wet.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And another question I had was about the CPA exams.
Yes.
So, so I am planning to apply for my CPA exams, and like I was gonna ask that, but thankfully you answered my question about that. That you guys do help prepare for the exams, and like, so can we just like sign up with you guys and just prepare on the exams from the university? Because like there are certain universities that basically help you give the exams as well while being a student at that university. Like,
So those are the courses that you could add as a concentration to your master's degree, or you could take them as electives, however you want to do that. These courses will help you prepare to pass the CPA exam. You have to go to the board, the California Board of Accountancy, and apply yourself.
okay.
But the professor will, what Professor Lord does is he walks people through what it means, how to do it, what you should think about, how to get prepared. He kind of does that for all the new students taking his courses. So, and he teaches 3 of the 4 courses. So you will have him at some point. And so he walks through all of that with students to make sure, A, they are eligible.
Right.
Like, do they have the requisite number of accounting subjects? Do they have the number of business subjects? Do they have the 120 units? How are they going to get to the extra 30 units to get to 150? What do they need for the ethics requirement? All of that, he kind of walks you through, and he gives you a spreadsheet that you can actually fill in, and it calculates everything you need to know in order to be eligible to sit for the CPA. So he walks you through all of that. We just don't apply. We don't sit with you and why you apply, because that's your business. That's.
I mean, yeah, but I've heard about like there are certain universities that do that. I get it, like what you're saying, and Golden Gate University does not. You have to like separately sign up for the exams, and like they just like help you prepare for the exam. But other than that, you just have to like go through and do the registration and everything by yourself. I get it.
Yeah, just because we don't know when you're going to take it. Ideally, we want you to take the exam soon after you complete the exams, or the course, excuse me. But right now there's a delay just because there's, everybody's still doing remote. So it's taking longer for the CBA to process applications and do all of this. So he'll walk you through what that looks like too for timelines.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I know about the delays. I've already applied and registered. So I'm still waiting for my answers also.
Okay, good. Wonderful. Yeah. And if you want to talk to me offline, feel free to email me and we can talk offline, or I can connect you with Professor Lord if you have specific questions.
That'll be helpful. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. Hey, everybody, it's 1 o'clock on the hour, and unfortunately I have to go, so I'm going to have to cut this short. I wish I could stay on and answer other questions if you have them. But if you do have them, you have my email address. It's going to be, you'll see it in the video recording. Please feel free to chat me up. And if I can't answer the question, I'll get somebody who can. It was a pleasure having every one of you on the call. I hope you found it informative. I know that a few people had to drop off. So have a great rest of the day and rest of the week. And I look forward to speaking to you sometime in the near future. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.